Hi, this is Matt, and today I'm going to be helping people again to be better orchestrators and arrangers and composers. Do you remember my pillars that I was teaching about, the 5 pillars that you need to be a good arranger or orchestrator? One of these pillars is the pillar of understanding the harmonic series. Many of the questions I get often goes about how do I do voicing in lower brass better that it doesn't sound as muffled. One of the questions I'm going to answer today. I want to teach you about the harmonic series just a little bit. I'm not going to be too scientific about it. There are hundreds of good scientific videos on YouTube, surely, about what the harmonic series is for the scientists. I am talking to musicians today. So I want to just briefly show you what the harmonic series is and what are we talking about. But then what we need to get to is, okay, once you have the knowledge of the harmonic series, what do you do with this knowledge? Because how do you apply it when you write music? You need to understand the pillar of the harmonic series. So let's get started. Let's talk about sound. When you think sound, what do you need to be able to hear? You've learned in science class you need to have sound waves. There's something that must move. In a sound wave, the amplitude, it goes about how loud or soft it is. Larger amplitude, louder sound. Smaller amplitude, smaller sound. You got that? That's very simple. If the frequency is closer, the frequency goes about how many waves a sound has per second. That's where you get 220 hertz, and you get 30,000 hertz and 15,000 hertz. That's the amount of waves per second. That gives you the pitch. Higher note, lower note. They say the human ear, a healthy human ear, can hear up to about 15,000 hertz. Imagine this pond. If this pond had absolutely no wind and no one was throwing pebbles or rocks into the pond, it would have been a mirror. There would be no waves. There has to be movement of something, air or something, to create the waves in the pond. Do you understand that? Now, sound works exactly the same. In this case, if a guitar string is plucked or strummed, or a violin string or a cello string is played with a bow, the string vibrates. That gives you the wave that vibrates. That's where the sound came from. In a similar way, on the trumpet, you buzz and that air into the mouthpiece, and that gives you the vibration. It's a cylindrical shape that goes into a conical shape. To amplify it, that's where the sound comes from on any brass instrument. The reed instruments, this is a saxophone mouthpiece with the reed. The reed vibrates. Again, same thing, gives you the wave. Have you ever tried blowing into a bottle? You blow over a bottle, very thin, the friction of the air going over the empty hole, that gives you a sound. You've tried that. That's exactly how it works when you play a flute. Exactly how it works when you play a pan flute. When you play a drum, you've got a skin that stretches over a barrel or some sort, or over some cylindrical thing. That vellum that vibrates, that gives you sound again. Every single case, there's something that vibrates. When you get to a tubular bell, just a cylindrical shaped piece of steel, it vibrates. Even a flat piece of steel, hit that with a hammer, it's going to vibrate, it's going to give you sound. All sound in music, all sound comes from something that vibrates, and all music comes from something that vibrates. You need air. So let's recap. Sound needs waves, waves needs movement of air, and all music notes originate from some kind of vibration. Now, harmonic series. Let's take 2 points and we tie a string nice and taut between the 2 poles. What happens if I vibrate the string? The string vibrates, I plug it, gives me a sound wave, which I can hear. Now, for the principle of this exercise to explain, let's say this string will give me the low C, as you can see on the screen. Now, when I take another point halfway of the same string, press it down, and I pluck just the one side. Now, the note will be, because it's halfway, will be exactly 1 octave higher than the original string. Interesting, isn't it? Take that half it again, so now you've got quarters of the original length. Like that, now it's a 5th higher of the original string, a perfect 5th. Plug it again, now it's a perfect 4th higher of the original string. You see where we're going? And every time you plug it in, every time you half it again, it goes higher and higher, major 3rd, minor 3rd, and higher, and this is how it works. But look at this, something interesting. Now there's some science behind this. First of all, the wavelength, the beginning and the end of the wave. Every time, if I put one wavelength like this, every time I halve it, as long as the end coincides with the first one, you will hear it. If it doesn't, because it's now 1/565th of the original length, and if it doesn't go inside with the original one, you will not hear it. But every time you half it, you quarter it, thirds, fourths, if it's perfect, it will, because the edge of the wave is at the same place, it will give you overtones. You'll be able to hear all these together. Now just look at this, how interesting our creator made music. So you can see now you have an octave, perfect fifth, perfect. Look at the chord. What are you doing? You actually have a major C. Try it here. Because we started in a C, we're doing a major chord in any other thing. That's why these notes sound beautiful together. But that's not the only thing. That's not the only thing we need to understand from this. So when I press this C, this is what's important. When I press this C in a piano, all these other notes actually will also ring as harmonics or overtones. It's the same thing, different names. Will ring. Now they will be much softer. The human ear often can't hear them. They are certainly there, and that's why it's clicked in. I'm going to demonstrate it a bit later. And that's why these notes sound good, because it resonates to your ear. You understand how the creator made it. It's wonderful, isn't it? Okay, now let's take this a little further. Remember we had the string. Now if I take a piece of pipe, let's forget the string. Take a piece of pipe, a normal steel pipe of a certain length. Give it holes, but we cover the holes. Right, the holes are covered, it's still just one long pipe. So you blow on the one side, like a flute or something, you get a note that is the full length of the pipe. Let's say it's at C again. So you have the full length of the pipe playing out. Now what we do, we uncover halfway of the pipe again. So the last few fingers of the pipe is open now. What's going to happen with the air? It's going to go halfway into the pipe, halfway up. Now we half the distance of the full length of the pipe. What's going to happen? The same thing as the string. It's got to be an octave up. This is just the basic principle. And go to a flute or a clarinet or a saxophone and try this now, because that their fingering and their holes are far more complicated. This is just the basic. I want to explain to you the scientific principle behind it, that you understand how it works. The shorter you make the pipe, the higher it's going to be. The longer you make the pipe, the lower it's going to be. You understand that? Because the frequency will change. Now it gets complicated. Look at the string number one, string number two. String number one, string number two can have exactly the same tensions, but string number two is thicker. What will happen? Yeah, you're right. String number two is going to sound lower. Just like a guy with bigger vocal cords might be more bass than me. I'm a tenor, can have a bass, you can have a baritone because he's got bigger vocal cords. The same way the tube of a trumpet is thin, the tube of a tuba is longer and thicker, is going to be a lower instrument. Now, let's look at this example now. Flute 1 and flute 2, same length, but flute 2 will be significantly lower than flute 1 because the pipe is thicker. You understand that? But harmonic series is more complicated than that for when it gets to instruments, especially when you work with a full wind band or an orchestra or something like this, even just a quintet or a quartet. Because do you realize, if I take flute number one, I lengthen this pipe, I give it a longer pipe. Maybe it was 1 meter, now I make it 2.5 meters, but the thickness stays the same. If I just calculate it correctly and just test and play around, I will be able to give flute one the same pitch as flute 2, because flute 2 is thicker. Now flute 2 will be shorter, but it's thicker. And I can make flute 1 same pitch by making it longer. But the harmonic series is going to be difficult. We'll get to that. Keep this in mind. Let's talk about length. I want to experiment. Look at the following experiment. Okay, I hope that was interesting to you. Now, look at the following. A trumpet, normal B-flat trumpet, if you play it without pressing any valves, the length of a B-flat trumpet is around 1.48 meters, that's around 4 feet. That's how long, and it gives you a certain pitch. It's a cylindrical pipe that in the end becomes conical, right? You get like a funnel. Second one I'm giving you, French horn. This is a whole French horn. It's about 3.7 meters. All the curls, it's much longer. The bell is wider, but most of the tube is actually still thin, almost the same thickness as a trumpet. In fact, I find, because I've played it, a French horn mouthpiece is a little smaller than it is on a big trumpet. And the cup in a trumpet is like this. The cup in a French horn is a V shape. It's not a cup shape. It makes it quite hard. It's very different, because as you can see, 3.7 meters is double the trumpet, but it actually is very close to the same range. But it's thinner. It's like that long flute that we made now to be lower. It makes the harmonics very, very high. Let's look at the tuba. Normal B-flat tuba now, this is just roughly 5.5 meters, all the piping, much thicker, we can agree, than the French horn. That's why we get to the range that we have to get to. It's literally 2 octaves below the trumpet. Let's look at this. So we have the French horn, a long tube that can play low. You'll see when we do the series, the lowest note in the French horn is in tuba range, literally. And then you have the tuba. But the French horn has got a thinner pipe, a much thinner pipe than the tuba. You understand that? Thick string, thin string. That means the higher notes on a French horn, which it can reach because it's got a small mouthpiece and a thin pipe, the harmonics is going to be extremely close. Remember, we had like octave, fifth, fourth, third, minor third, second, and then they get smaller up to the point where it's smaller than semitones. French horn in a higher range, so close. That makes it difficult. So it gives you a high-pitched sound, which is absolutely beautiful. That's what makes the French horn one of the most beautiful instruments in the world, well, in my opinion. What is making it also very hard. We'll go more into that in the French horn. I just want to give you the principle of the harmonics. Stop, you say. I don't know what to do with all of this information. Okay, we're going to get to that now. So what do I do with this? Now, we did the scientific part of this, but what do I do with this? I want to write music now, and you just gave me a lot of information. I'm sorry. I'm going to give you the information that you need. Let's use the harmonic series now. You've done 4-part harmony, surely by now. Grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, higher. You understand the basic rules of harmony. And these rules, we know are not rules. It's people that studied people like J.S. Bach, and now they came up with these rules, which are very, very, very good rules, and this is where it came from. See this picture now? Let me get myself out of the way. So look at the picture I give you here. At the bottom of the range where it's red, wider is much better to write. That's harmony rules. Wider is better to write. You don't get your notes too close in the triads or in the chords, what you do, because they're too close together, harmonic series, they're going to get muffled. As it becomes yellow, you can start getting the notes closer. When it gets to green, it doesn't matter. You can do with the notes pretty much what you want, as long as it sounds nice to you. That's the basic principle of the harmonic series that you need to understand when you write music. But this is not for the full band of the orchestra we're talking about. This is per instrument. Each instrument you have to look at individually. Let me show you a little. Okay, so what we have here, the trumpet, lowest note in a normal trumpet, a 3-valve trumpet, is the F sharp. Highest note, there's no such thing as a highest note, but the highest note you can write professionally is around the D for most people. There are fantastic trumpet players that can play a lot higher. This is where safely in tutti writing you can write for professionals. Look at what I did right next to it. Let me use my mouse. In the range of the F sharp up to about the C, you're in a red zone. Don't get close together. Fifth or more apart. When you get to the yellow zone, no notes can get closer. And that yellow zone is over very, very low in the range still. And the rest of it, not a big deal. The chords work nicely. Trombone, very much the same thing as a trumpet, but look at it carefully, an octave down. Now the same way, you're in school, you're in a church, you're in some hall, some gathering of some sort, and everyone is singing the same song, and they're singing Amazing Grace. Now, the men and the women may be singing in unison for you. It sounds exactly the same. But actually, if you write normal 4-part harmony, you will write the men, the tenor voice, an octave below the soprano voice. You agree with me? They will sound to the ear 100% in unison. The same with the trumpet and trombone. We'll explain that to you later. We're going to demonstrate it to you. So because of the harmonic series of the trombone and harmonic series of the trumpet, that's in a different place. Trombone is literally an octave down from a trumpet. There's a French horn. Can you see how French horn can actually, how low a French horn can play? It is very, very, very low. And the highest note, again, G, A sharp, somewhere up there. There's some horns that play far higher than this. This is just, again, where it's probably safe to write. Can you see? Look at the pictures of the French horn and the tuba that I did here. Deliberately is not the same. The green part of the horn happens quicker. It's lower than it is for the tuba. Do you see that? Do you see that? Look carefully. It's not the same thing because you have to consider the harmonic series of each individual instrument. Yes, the French horn has a long pipe, as we spoke about, and it can play very low, but because it's a long pipe, it's not that easy to play that low, and it's actually meant to have the close harmonic series. Why? Because the close harmonic series in that higher range is what gives it that armor-penetrating sound that can cut through an whole orchestra and a nice John Williams composition. That's why. That's why they can do this well, because the harmonic series is so high for them. For the purpose of this exercise, so you're looking at 4 different notes here, the 4 different examples here. The first one, I just made a C major triad, but I orchestrated it quite closely at the bottom, which is against everything we learn about the harmonic series. Now just listen how muffled the sound sounds. You hear you can't distinguish the notes properly because an harmonic series is too close for the bottom for the low range. The second one, I open it up nicely. It's not 4-part harmony, but I open it up a little bit so you can hear the difference. Listen now. Good. The third one, use normal 4-part harmony rules, open it up nicely, the C major triad just widely, no harmonic problems now, listen to it. You see, it sounds a lot better. For the last one, what I did, I took the C major triad, but now I wrote it down for you the way I would orchestrate it for a full symphony orchestra or for a full symphonic wind band. Basically, the idea that I would do, look carefully what I did. It's big and white at the bottom. It gets closer in the middle at the top. The high notes there would be high violins, flutes, piccolos, something like that. Just listen why I would orchestrate for a full orchestra. You agree? This is a lot better. Okay, so what do I do with this? Took a little bit of a quartet if you want. You've got a trumpet, you've got a horn, you've got a trombone, you've got a tuba. I wrote the music on purpose in what appears to be unison. It's not really unison. Look carefully. The horn in this case is an octave below. Let's put it in concert pitch. The horn is an octave below the trumpet, same range as the trombone, and the tuba is another octave down. But when I play it together, it will sound like it's unison for you. Let's just play everything together first. Now, what I'm going to do on purpose, I'm going to show you the difference. I'm putting a solo on in the mixer. On a solo trumpet, I'm going to solo trombone. So only trumpet, trombone playing now. It sounds like unison, same way as a female voice and a male voice would play, but they're an octave apart. But it will sound like unison because the trombone, the harmonic series of the trombones starts lower than the trumpet. Listen carefully. Let's do French horn and trombone. Okay, can you see how music that appears to be in unison is not really unison? Now, if I had to score this for a full orchestra, I would not write the French horn like this. So let's just change the French horn to what I would have done in this case. I can't put the whole thing in range as I did. I can't put the whole thing in the same range as the trumpet because this part will be too high in the middle here in the second bar. But I can do this. Let's just take from there to there. In fact, only those 3 notes. Proper orchestration for a French horn if you want to hear it. Let's just play the French horn solo first so you can hear what I did now. Okay, and the full tutti now. Okay, after all of this, what are we saying? Okay, that was a whole lot of information. After all of this, what are we saying? What do we do with this? With the knowledge of the harmonic series. One, the first thing to remember is that if you write an instrument in a higher range of the harmonic series, you can write the notes closer together if there's more than one voice. But that also means in that higher range, if you give it a good forte fortissimo, you can have that instrument cut through most of the other instruments because it's higher. So if I have all my strings in the low range of their harmonic series, and I have one flute playing in a high range, even at just mezzo forte or mezzo piano, that flute will be nicely audible and the voice will sound so beautiful. Why? Because of difference in the harmonic series. The same thing with any other instrument. If you have your horns, you have your trombones going for a high range and you give them proper dynamics that they can play, they're going to cut through everything. And it works the same with all these instruments. Low range, keep the notes in your chords further apart. Higher, no problem, you can get them closer. But also consider, when you do 4-part harmony, you have your 4 notes. This is the thing that you need to understand. When you have your 4 notes in 4-part harmony, your left hand on a piano is always lower than your right hand. But when you look at an orchestra, this is not necessarily the case. It depends what are you playing. So yes, a high trumpet and a low trumpet, the low trumpet is lower. But the high trumpet and a trombone an octave below that does not mean it's lower because it's high in its harmonic series. Consider the pitch in harmonic series per instrument. That's where they lie. So you can have chords of trumpets or trombones. Let's say I have chords of trumpets. And I have a French horn that's doing a melody right between crossing these notes of the trumpets. But because the harmonic series of the French horns starts lower, it will not clash. The horn is just going to cut through those guys. This is what you need to understand. This is not the case with the piano, but it definitely is the case with these instruments. So think about it. Harmonic series works towards your advantage if you understand how to use it. Play around with it. We've got such beautiful sampling sounds these days that it's easy to hear, but the sampling sounds sometimes lie because it's easy to have a flute playing over a whole orchestra because that flute is mic'd. So it's not that easy. Remember the harmonic series, use it when you write because any instrument can take the lead basically if you use it high in the harmonic series, as simple as it is. So I hope this is helpful. I wish I can find another way to explain it better. Please write down in the comments, give me your comments, give me your questions, because I want you to understand the harmonic series because this is the most difficult pillar for most of the people. And it's the one that people struggle with. No one has it all figured out. I certainly don't. But I use it a lot, this knowledge, and it makes me a better arranging orchestrator, and I hope it will help you too. Please like and subscribe, but don't forget, I want those comments, I want those questions, so I can help you. Thank you very much. See you next time.